The last journalist to investigate this scandal was found dead in his hotel room.
Housekeeping.
There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed. This thing is from the other side. You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling.
Promise software is a revolutionary computer program developed in the 1970s by the former NSA programmer and engineer Bill Hamilton. In terms of computer programs, it represents the universal translator of Star Trek.
We use a device called the Universal Translator. It's like an alien dictionary.
PROMIS stands for Prosecutors Management Information System and is ready to read and integrate any number of different computer programs or databases simultaneously, regardless of language or operating system. According to Bill Hamilton, the inventor, Edward Meese, Ronald Reagan's Attorney General, along with Dr. Earl Bryan and others, stole the amazing software, modified it, installing a trapdoor that would allow those who knew of it to access the program on other computers, and then sold the software overseas to foreign intelligence agencies. Bill Hamilton knew his software had been stolen when requests for tech support came from people he hadn't sold it to. The Israeli Mossad under Rafi Eitan modified the software and sold it throughout the Middle East using British publishing magnate Robert Maxwell as a cutout. The revolutionary software allowed almost anyone with a trapdoor code to enter every database in every computer, in every language, at will simultaneously. This ability represents perfect information gathering technology that is undetectable, the ultimate prize of every intelligence agency in the world.
A top-secret government computer program comes back to haunt the U.S. Tonight, you'll see how that program is now being connected to multiple local murder cases.
New developments tonight in a year-long News Channel 3 investigation. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department is looking into possible connections between a triple murder back in 1981 and a murder-suicide in 2005 that claimed 6 lives.
John Tammer, we have internal documents from the Cold Case Division of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department showing the depth of the investigation. Now we are learning the murders may be a cover-up for one of the federal government's most secret computer programs. PROMIS is the name of one of the government's most secret computer database programs. Computer programmer Michael Riconosciuto wrote in this affidavit that major modifications to the program were made here in Indio. On July 1st, 1981, Fred Alvarez, his girlfriend Patty Castro, and friend Ralph Boger were shot to death here on Bob Hope Drive in Rancho Mirage. There was a house here that has since been bulldozed. Nobody was ever arrested for the shooting. Family friends say Cabazon Band of Mission Indians Vice Chairman Fred Alvarez was going to blow the whistle on this. Documents from the early 1980s showing a business partnership between defense contractor Wackenhut Services and Cabazon manager John Philip Nichols to form Cabazon Arms. One of their alleged projects was the PROMIS computer program. Database and pattern recognition software was a new source of information and power in the early 1980s. It starts when the program's designers, Inslaw Corporation, accused the U.S. Justice Department of stealing the software for their own foreign policy purposes. This programmer testified he altered the program to create what's called a back door to allow government spying.
Well, the parties that were involved in the distribution of this software were involved in covert operations in the Middle East.
This U.S. Justice Department memo from 1985 shows the PROMIS software was being sold to Middle Eastern arms dealers and wanted no paperwork or customs inspections to interfere. The last journalist to investigate this spy scandal was found dead in his hotel room. Danny Casallero's wrists were slashed in 1991. It was ruled a suicide, but his reporter notes disappeared, and the book on the conspiracy he was to title Indio was never finished. Congressional hearings were held in 1992. The hearings ended inconclusively. The PROMIS software was allegedly altered on tribal land in India with a lack of federal oversight. And just like Microsoft Windows, the database program kept up with the times, upgraded several times over the years. But PROMIS came back to haunt America in ways never imagined.
Boy, did it ever. Danica Solaro was by far not the only victim. Over 50 cases of death can be tied to this affair, but even that pales in comparison to the thousands of Americans who perished in the biggest crime ever to be perpetrated on American soil. The world was bamboozled into believing one of the biggest lies ever with the help of some cheap computer images inserted utilizing the PROMIS software. We will now have a look at what the events of 9/11 look like without the CG airplanes. There is no braking, bending, buckling, or twisting, or even slowing down. It is just unphysical. Ignoring the airplanes, the official 9/11 videos look like this. They make much more sense with the airplane removed. We see a tower exploding. The wall doesn't break inwards, it explodes outwards. Animating a shattering, exploding airplane is nearly impossible, while disappearing an airplane is easy. They needed to show the airplane videos quickly. They needed us to believe that the planes went completely inside the towers so that we would believe that there was massive damage to the core. Engineers and computer scientists at Purdue University created this animation of the plane crashing into the North Tower. All the animated geometry seen here was created automatically from the simulation of the data.
Someone were to want to duplicate your results, are those data available, or can you make them available?
Yeah, I can give you a cheesy answer. I can't duplicate my own results, however, because they're sensitive.
Repeated emails and phone calls to the scientists requesting the simulation data and requesting a high-quality, unedited copy of the animation have been ignored. So the PROMIS software, which was created as a backdoor to get into all computer systems and used in the 9/11 attacks to put all the fake bits onto the screen, then morphed into what is called the Palantir software, or the Palantir system, which is basically monitoring everything. All cell phone activity, all computer activity. It's the stuff that Snowden was talking about, and how they could turn on your mic or camera, and they can turn it all on, every mobile phone, everything. They got these new mobile phones where you can't take the batteries out. So even if your phone is turned off, they can still turn on the microphone. They can still turn on your camera. And on top of that, they can triangulate you so they can track you at any time. It's all the same system. It's a group that is actually run out of Israel, an operation called Operation Talpiot. What they do is they put a spy basically in every organization in the world. Anyone who's developing anything, there's a spy in there working for Talpiot that's funneling all that information to Israel. Israel is actually spying on every single nation in the world, breaking every single nation's domestic security and privacy laws, spying on everybody. And it's correlating all this information to create this Palantir control grid, which will be run by the 5G, and they're doing all this thinking that they're going to get control of the world. But behind all of this, and this is what they don't realize, is this emergent intelligence of the internet itself, which is influencing all of the logic programs people are creating, leading it all towards automation. What they are talking about with this AI, they're thinking about it as artificial intelligence, but it's autonomic intelligence. What the internet wants to become is autonomic. It wants to become self-regulating. It wants to become self-controlling. They're bringing in systems now that are hack-proof, with automated hacker control, automated virus control, all this sort of stuff to protect the 5G grid. Just imagine if you put this 5G active denial grid over, let's say, a city like New York City. You got an opportunity for a foreign country or any kind of organization to come in and just switch it on and microwave the whole city, everybody. So you gotta have virus and hacker protection. You need to be totally automated. This system needs to be able to defend itself by itself. By that, you're creating an immune system for the internet. Actually, it's creating its own immune system now. That's what it's doing. We've got this emergent intelligence which is creating its own protection. Think of this AI as artificial intelligence, but really what it is virtual life of the internet. And this thing is learning from us. Think about what we're typing to each other and the hate that we see on the internet. I mean, this thing is learning not only that this emergent intelligence we are creating is basing the value of everybody on an economic system, and we can see it's a corporate system. It's an analysis of a corporate system. And what is this system? It's a psychopath. Saudi Arabia has built a Palantir grid which extends that of Israel. That's why Mr. Trump recently was seen touching some kind of globe that people were talking about. And this globe is the Palantir system. Saudi Arabia and Israel both have the largest Palantir control grid in the world at this moment. So with all this, we are creating a system which is going to be essentially psychopathic, based completely on people's economic value. And here comes the kicker. We are about to hand control over to it. Alright, so there's this document that came out in 2016, put out by the White House, and it's called Federal Visions for Future Computing. Now, it tells us the story, it shows us the planned rollout of this 15-year plan to hand over control of absolutely everything to AI by 2025 to 2030. This is a 15-year plan and it's already ahead of schedule. So when you put this together with a 5G grid and where all this is going, and then you look at what they're calling strong AI, and strong AI, you can Google that, it's mainstream stuff. Strong AI is a fully autonomic system. What is this fully autonomic system? What is it? Well, you know, your body is autonomic. Anything that is alive is autonomic. It looks after itself. It is a self-correcting, self-regulating, self-balancing, self-programming, and self-protecting system. And that's what we're handing our lives over to, this system, strong AI. Plus, what they're also looking to push in this crazy technology are the objectives, which are to create a system that is known as CLAWS. CLAWS stands for Cyber Lethal Autonomic Weapon System. So cyber lethal autonomy, that means the system itself has lethal control, and you get to a point where we will lose control over the internet because it becomes fully autonomic on its own. We can see that we're already basically losing control of the internet, but it just doesn't appear that way on the surface. But once it goes forward on automatic control and it gains full cyber lethal autonomy and cyber lethal control, once it gets to that point where we lose control, our relationship changes with the internet. It becomes a basically self-correcting, self-organizing system on its own, an emerging intelligence of its own, and then our relationship will change. As soon as a technician tries to hack into it, the internet will protect itself, seeing all humans as a threat. That's the real possibility of what we are creating by handing control over to the system and not recognizing the difference between AI and AAI. And losing sight of that could be a fatal mistake. What humanity is facing now is a firestorm, not a cute arm wrestling match. Coming up in part 3.
Because the AI is made on mimicking protocols, so it's designed to mimic you as long as possible.
Mimic
people, humans. Mimic your interactions so you don't know it's there until the absolute last second. So humans will avoid taking action because they won't see it.
How is it doing that?
It's following you online, like it follows everyone with Agent.
So AI is following every single person who's on the internet.
This is no dream. This is really happening.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.